Hey guys, Serial Simmer here. Today I am building my dream greenhouse. Surprise, surprise. I did go ahead and purchase both of the new kits that just came out last Thursday at the time of filming this. I'm planning to post this video tomorrow, which is, I believe, my time. It's the Saturday after the kits have come out. But yeah, I wanted to just try my hand at using some of the new items. I was disappointed with this pack, just that there wasn't that many plants that came with this pack. I felt like for a greenhouse kit, it should have had a lot more plants, but it really only had like those seedlings and then one other small one that is kind of like an ivy type plant that's sort of hanging out over the pot. But it's cute and all, but it just didn't feel like a lot for a greenhouse kit. I felt like we should have gotten so many more plants, and I felt like it was strange that we didn't. I guess I know that they have the limit on how many items that they can include in each of these kits, but I swear it's getting smaller all the time. I also feel like this kit really could have been combined. If there wasn't a limit on how many things that they could include in a pack, this really would have been a good combination with the Blooming Room kit. Alas, it's The Sims. So in the build here, I've gone ahead and used those new pavers from the kit. I've also used some of the shelving that you will see we're about to figure out. It comes in a completely black swatch and looks like sort of metal. So I actually used that all around almost the entire top half of the room here. If you notice, I did have to kind of clip them in together, but I think that the way that I ended up doing it, it looks pretty okay and you really can't tell at all. I just thought it would be such a nice place to be able to put sort of ivy type plants and things like that. I didn't end up finding as many of those type of plants as I wish that I had. I also did end up leaving space for the fireplace at the top and space for the door, of course. I assume you could probably go right across the top of the door and the door would still function because there is that window section at the top of the door, but I haven't tried it. And I thought it looked okay with sort of those L-shaped pieces in the corners. So anyways, getting back to the lower half of the room, we have a large table in the center, which I just have always thought would be such a wonderful place to hang out. I would love to have just like an all glass sunroom type room, greenhouse type room. I think this would be so wonderful. Fun fact about me, I actually have like a black thumb and struggle to keep anything alive. I wish so much that I had a green thumb, that I was able to keep plants alive. I've tried many, many a time, but I either get overzealous and overwater things or I forget about them after a while and then they die that way. And it feels so sad to me when plants die. It's like a living thing. And I just feel awful that I'm not very good at taking care of them. I'm great with animals and pets and kids and things like that, but plants for some reason, man, I don't know, I guess because they can't remind me or something. And because I feel like I'm always guessing like what they need. I'm always guessing, do they need food and water? Do they need, how much sunlight do they need? Anyways, I can't figure it out. I know some people are probably like, what are you talking about? It's not that hard. But for me, it is. So that's why I decided that I would include some of my other hobbies in this room, like doing board games and puzzles, hanging out with the family, maybe having some snacks and things, reading fun magazines, painting, and having like a really nice corner spot to read a book in with a little dog bed for my little doggy Hilda. I know if you guys have watched my previous videos, you will have heard me talk about her or blame her for some background noise. Aside from being a little bit noisy sometimes, she is really just the best puppy of all time. She's so smart and so cuddly. She's actually laying on my lap right now as I do this voice recording, which really helps de-stress you, ground you, and make things that might otherwise be a little bit more difficult just, I want to say a little bit more easy. And then as I was saying that, I decided that I wanted to switch a little bit to significantly more easy. She's kind of like an emotional support dog for me, honestly. So here we are putting that cozy reading spot in, and I take a little while to kind of figure out how I want this to work because I wanted to be able to have as many pots in this room as I possibly could so that I could have different types of plants coming out of them and really fill this room up with plants since it is a greenhouse. But I didn't I wasn't feeling those two pots in the corner there, and I couldn't exactly fit them in a way that I enjoyed, in a way that I liked in that corner. So it ends up going down to just the red one. I wanted to play off of the color behind the chair on that table. There's a bit of like red, pink color in there that really works well with that red pot. So I end up keeping the red pot and getting rid of the other one. Temporarily, we move it to the other side of the room. And then by the end of the build, I end up deleting it altogether. Right now, we are just starting to check the lighting. I have been putting a few lights around the place, I think you noticed, and then I'm kind of checking with the lights off to make sure that I like the sort of way the light is in all directions of the room. And then I remember, oh my gosh, I have to have a dog bed in this room. So we go ahead and add that. And if you did just hear that little snort, that was my dog Hilda. I am not blaming this on her. I swear that was her, I promise. Um, so yeah, we go ahead and we add these also cozy blankets and pillows. I do love blankets and pillows. I constantly am telling everybody that I do, yes, need all of the pillows that are on my couch. Yes, I need all the pillows that are on my bed. Pillows are amazing. I'm always cold too, so I typically always have like a couple blankets nearby, if not like on me. Currently wearing like two long sleeve shirts, like a sweater and also a long sleeve shirt underneath that. I just tend to be cold quite often, even though where I am, it is springtime now. Thankfully, it's finally starting to get a little bit warmer. We have had some weird days though, like just random bouts of like really, really cold days, really, really rainy, which is normal for spring, but like especially rainy. And then it'll like hail randomly, and then it will be really hot the next day, like 80-degree weather, and yeah, go back and forth. It's pretty crazy here. So, getting back to the build, we are working on the front porch now and just adding some flowers. I'm so excited to finally get to the part of the build where we're adding all of the greenery in, because that's really when this build starts to take life. We have added the board games and the puzzles on to the center of the table, as well as the pretty tea lights. I just love those so much. Those, I believe, are base game, but those are just like OG goodness. They're so awesome. And we are trying to find a few plants and things that will slot up onto these shelves up here. And I couldn't find ones, I couldn't find a lot of them that I really liked seeing on top. In fact, one of the plants that I have up there right now, I remember being like, should I leave this up there? And being like, well, I do need at least some greenery. So it was kind of supposed to be a temporary thing and then ended up just staying the whole time. Also, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to raise lights up into the roof like this, but it's just such a pain in the butt. I had to cut out so much of me like counting that how many times I hit the 9 button to make sure that everything was the same height, and was like actually touching the arch in the roof since there's no ceiling. Now I'm just trying to figure out what kind of plants I'm going to put in these planters on the sides, and I end up deciding on an avocado tree and a lemon tree in the end, but finding them and searching through debug, oh my goodness, you guys. I cut out so much searching through debug. Good Lord. I am about to find kind of a funny thing right here. I found this like little dog statue and ended up putting that on Hilda's bed. Just, I almost thought about leaving it. You guys will have to tell me if you would think that was funny or if you would be weirded out by that. Personally, I think that stuff is really funny when I find things like that in other people's builds, but I know some people get like creeped out by those white statues, those white pretend animals, those like placeholder animals. Here I am trying to put those cottage living lights in. That's what the pack those are from. They're from the debug. And they're so cute, but I couldn't figure out a way to place them that looked right. Like they wouldn't hook into the ceiling or the wall and actually look like they were connected to anything. They would just be floating. So I decided against them in the end. Now we're just going through, and I honestly, I feel like I cut out like an hour of this footage of just looking through debug. We got the avocado and the lemon tree finally. It looks like it didn't take that long. It did, I promise you. We are looking through mostly cottage living debug, I think, trying to find the rest of the plants. I really wanted to find like garlic, tomatoes, onion, all of the plants that I would really love to have like in my dream garden. But I was unable to find those. I need to get like the Better Build mod by Twisted Mexi or something. You guys, if you have that, tell me how you like it. So yeah, I was gonna add some lavender to these garden beds. I would have loved to have been able to find a way to incorporate that into this build, but I ended up removing that. I didn't like the way that it looked. It just didn't feel natural to the rest of the build. It just didn't feel like it totally fit. I love this is cottage living debug, and it's iconic. I swear those little mushrooms and all of the little like tufts of grass and stuff. Those are so well done. I don't know who designed those or thought that that was like a really necessary thing to add. I wish that that came in the actual like plants and stuff. I wish that was just in there and not in debug. It's such a pain to have to search through debug for those things, and they're so good. I would use them all the time if they were actually part of the pack and you didn't have to go into debug. I always say that and then I'm like, well, it is technically a part of the pack. That's how you got it, but it's not really because it's debug. Anyways, I'm sure like a lot of people don't even know that that's there. So here we are trying to figure out the lavender because I felt really like I wanted to incorporate it, but didn't like the way that it was looking. It was looking like a hot mess all around the outside of these little garden beds. So I ended up doing one just filled with lavender and rotating them sort of different ways that looked like they had sort of been planted in rows, but also filled out the box and didn't look like they were all the same plant, which they are. So yeah, now we're just doing steps. I end up going back to these brick ones. I felt like that worked the best with the pavers. We don't really have a great stair for these pavers, I was realizing. But maybe that's just because I was using a lot of black on the exterior of my building. If I feel like if you were using more wood tones, you could find a wood toned stair that looked really nice with them. But yeah, going ahead and adding in like lots of lettuce and pumpkin spots just so that it looked like something was planted in these garden beds. I end up going and finding a whole ton of pumpkins at the end, and kind of in the like last three, I fill out at least like one of the garden sections with stuff. So here, yeah, you'll see I'm doing pumpkins in this one, and in the one on the right hand side, we do these watermelons and I think maybe like one other plant. I think they're like the daisies. And then in the front one, we end up doing these little, I don't even know, they're almost like kind of a desert plant actually, but they kind of look like, I don't know, some kind of plant sprouted. Yeah, these ones. Oh, small agave. Okay, that's what it's called. So we end up putting those in the front one and then only doing pumpkin and lettuce, like little planted spots throughout the rest of everything else. I was getting pretty exhausted and like this was supposed to be a quick build. And then all of a sudden I spent like an hour and a half on it. I'm outing myself right now. Yeah, then we go ahead and do some terrain paint here. Oh, wait, that's right. This cute little box. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's almost like a turnip box. I think it's called something turnips, if I am not mistaken. If anyone knows, comment below. Yeah, and then we're gonna end up adding a tree back to that really dark spot. So I just was kind of marking that out with terrain paint right there. And then we're pretty much done with this build. I think we just pick a hawthorn tree. Yep. And that's it for this build, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this last little tour of the build. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and like this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys!